What is your least favorite sound? How about your most favorite sound? It is our raw materials listening week. I am Tavish Cardiff here to discuss the spiritual component of listening. That is, what is all of the stuff that plays in the background that supports us or doesn't as we go through life looking for some sort of help from the places outside of us. Listening is a spiritual week, and as we become more attuned to our own self and understanding our own self, we get better at allowing the things that have happened in our lives to have meaning rather than being something that, let's say, happened to us. We're less of a victim and more of an active participant, even if the thing was traumatic or hurt us. That's a lot to breathe around, and that's a tough one to take in. I get it. However, what we listen to plays such a big part in how we feel in the rest of our day. I met a friend for lunch the other day, and we were sitting in a restaurant. There was a couple that came in with two small children, a boy and a girl, and they were argumentative to the point where I felt like saying something. I know my friend felt like saying something, but it was that uncomfortable enough space where it's not egregious enough to step in, but it is egregious enough to make you feel uncomfortable. And listening to my own inner voice, watching this family interact, and then trying to stay present in my own conversation over lunch as well, I found was very difficult. I imagined things for these kids. I wondered what their life was like. And even as we left the restaurant, they were being yelled at in the parking lot, and I struggled to get through the rest of my day without some ideal thoughts for these kids and some ways that I could help without being any part of the situation. I know that anything I said would only make it worse for the parents and for the kids, and maybe everyone was just having a bad day. I don't honestly know. What I do know is I have to take a breath around those moments, and I have to allow that what I listened to right then was just a glimpse of things that go on in the world that I don't get to hear. The listening pillar gives us the opportunity to identify both of the voices in our body and understand that they are sometimes at odds and how to work with each of them to get the best result for you personally and the people around you. So let's start with the ego voice. The ego protects us. It tells us what we need. It recognizes us as an individual and as really the most special individual on the planet. So it is constantly trying to protect the whole of us and keep us from anything that might potentially harm us, taking its cues from things that have harmed us in the past. It steps in as a scale. It measures danger and safety, and it errs on the side of caution. It is a voice that tells us what we should do or what other people should do. And it is also an energy that just it exudes and is part of our breath and exudes who we are essentially as an individuated human being. That soul voice has a job to do, and it tells us in no uncertain terms what it thinks would be the best thing for us. Also at play is our soul voice. And that is the broader picture that doesn't really take all of our feelings into account. What the soul voice does as a protector is remind us that we're connected to everyone and try to pull us into those spaces that have us offering compassion and forgiveness and things that we might not always feel like offering to people who don't deserve it, but asking us to reconsider in so many different ways that we wind up acquiescing and looking at ways to be forgiving, looking at ways to be compassionate to those who are not in the position that we are to make those kinds of things happen. Now, in a human body, we generally reserve that for the people we see as less fortunate than us, and the people that we see as more fortunate than us, we tend to hold them to a higher standard and expect certain things from them. This is also unfair. If we're listening from our soul voice, we're listening to how we want to treat our fellow human being, regardless of their stature or position or what they do in the world. If we're listening from our ego voice, we are listening with our emotions and our judgment. If we are listening from our soul voice, it's a pure humanitarian, connected space. So it's pretty easy to identify which voice is talking once you pay attention to the differences. If your feelings are involved, it's your ego. Our ego gets super excited or super upset when things happen, and it goes into overdrive taking care of us. That is its job, and that's what it sees as its job. What we can do is connect it to our soul's purpose. When we do that, now it understands its job at a deeper level. It listens to what the soul wants as it protects us as the most special human being that there is, according to our ego. And this is where the things that we want get manifested very easily because our passions are lined up to our purpose. And when we can experience ourselves as working towards the things that we are passionate about in wholeness, and that every moment is whole. We're not waiting to be whole when we've completed certain things. We are whole in the journey, and we are whole every step of the journey. That is when listening really kicks in with the spiritual benefits that it was designed to offer us. Awareness is the simple answer with the listening pillar. It is a spiritual connection. So when you are aware that it is a spiritual offering and it's a resource that's available to each of us to understand ourselves a little better and then offer that understanding out in the world, we start to feel as if we are able to affect the things that go on. We feel as if our open heart energy has the power to actually resonate out, move around, and help the people around us. If you are aware that you're listening to two voices, you're already doing it. Our relationship with the listening pillar starts out so strong when we're children, and by the time we get older, we have placed so much judgment around it that we almost don't trust it. And that relationship with that particular pillar is invaluable to our spiritual development and to the ways that we perceive what natural gifts are available to us. So opening up and listening, paying attention to what's in the background of what you're doing at all times and what energies you might just be pulling in from the shifting and changing environment, the news, your news feed, your social media, everything that comes in challenging your idea of what wholeness looks like for you personally. That's what we want to use the listening pillar for. As I said, that simple awareness is an indicator that you're already doing it. When we add from last week the emotion and we start listening within us, where does that emotion stick? Where is it resonant? Where does, my sore shoulder, what do I need to listen to emotionally to let go of that shoulder pain? And I can answer that question for myself because I'm practiced at it. When we practice listening, we become more adept at connecting the dots of what makes us feel dis-ease in the world and what creates that clearer path towards clarity. Breathing clears our way. Understanding whether it's a soul thought or whether it's an ego thought will always help you identify what's actually happening and whether you're in an emotional reaction or whether you are actually connecting to your passion and purpose, and what you are saying resonates with those things, passion and purpose. I don't want to repeat myself over and over, but as we listen, we become more spiritually attuned. And we're ready to answer the questions that come with our next week, values and ideals. Thank you for listening as I talked a bit about listening and the pillar of listening. And as always, enjoy your week. We'll see you next time. Thank you.